Good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in the words of the Beis Halevi and his Maimah Bitachon, and we're discussing the idea that when you have tzaddikim, you have the righteous, and they have no other recourse in the world of Hishtadlus because there's nothing for them to do. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we know, has harbe shluchim l'mokum. He has many messengers to do His bidding and His will in this world, and therefore it's quite possible that in the schus of their righteousness, they will be zeichet to miraculous ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to sustain them in ways that is really l'maylam and ateva, above the laws of nature. Hishtadlus, the efforts that we make, is within the laws of nature. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides a person their needs and their sustenance without any involvement on their behalf, there is not an act of effort that is made. So that's obviously something that is coming min hashemayim, from the heavens, has nothing to do with our actions down here. Now, that being said, it's obviously difficult for us to understand, what about us that are not the tzaddikim, we are not the righteous ones? So a couple of things to keep in mind over here. Number one, we discussed several times already that there are different levels that a person is able to live on in the world of Bitachon. And we spoke about the highest being that of the Ramban, and this is the way that the Alter of Navardik and Madregas Adam, the way that he understands it as well, and that is that in reality, a person is not obligated to do any hishtadlus. Hishtadlus itself is a curse, as we pointed out many times. It's a decree that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought to the world. Why would a person want to be involved and engaged in curseful activity? And therefore, someone that really trusts and relies on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has no interest at all in this physical world to do the efforts in the hishtadlus that Hashem punished us with. Rather, he throws all of his burden on the Ribbono Shel Olam, and he waits for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take care of his needs. One of the great tzaddikim from about 100 years plus ago was Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. He was the Rav of Yerushalayim. He was known as one of the great Gaonim, one of the great giants of that generation. And he himself was such a man who did not rely upon hishtadlus. He took no money for his work as a Rav. He didn't take payments from people when they came to ask him for advice or that he would be involved in different type of communal affairs. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of me. I don't need to lift a finger to be able to take money. People would even try to pass him money. As they were meeting with him in private, in confidence, they would give him envelopes of money that they should say, Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the great Rav of Yerushalayim, you need money to survive. He says, don't worry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of me. So one day, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld and one of his chaverim, his friends, were walking down the streets of Yerushalayim, Yer HaKodesh, in the olden days, 1900s. And in front of them was an Arab. And the Arab was walking, and he must have had a hole in his pocket because a golden coin fell out of his pocket and landed on the ground right in front of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. The Arab continued walking on. He didn't feel at all that he lost any money. And Rabbi Yosef Chaim stopped, reached down, picked up the coin, and he said, you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of me and my needs, sustains me without me having to lift a finger or do anything. Which means that he felt that on his madrega, on his level, since that he put all of his faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem will provide for his needs, that was the way in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the money right to his doorstep, right into his hands, so that he should have what he needed. Those are the world of the tzaddikim. The famous story which is brought down from the Alter of Navardik himself about Rav Chaim Belozhin, who was once giving a shir, and he was describing in great drama and with great conviction that if a person would really have a bitachon in Hashem, they wouldn't have to go out to work, they wouldn't have to do hishtadlus, they could sit at home and say Tehillim all day long, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of them. And there was, in this particular shir, it was the simple people of the town, and there was a wagon driver who was there listening to the words of Rav Chaim Belozhin, the main disciple of the Vilna Gaon, and he was so inspired. He came home to his wife. He said, I'm closing up shop. I'm not going to use my wagon anymore. I'm going to sit over here by the hearth in our house, and I'm going to recite Tehillim all day long. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will provide for us. His wife thought that her husband was a little bit crazy to do such a thing, But she acquiesced and she said, go ahead, my dear. You want to say Tehillim and see that Hashem is going to send you the money? You'll say Tehillim. If you see that He doesn't send the money, you're going to have to go back to work. One day turns into 2, into 3, into 4, and the man is diligently saying his Tehillim every single day, pouring out his heart to Hashem. No money is falling down from the skies. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by. They're now suffering over here. They don't have money. They can barely pay the bills, put food on the table. And the wife is telling the husband, my dear, please, go use your wagon. Go schlep things around. Go rent it out. Go do something, please. How can we live like this? This is abject poverty. And he said, the Rabbi Chaim Volozhiner said that if a person will say Tehillim all day long and put their Bitachon in our Ribono Shel Olam, I have nothing to worry about, Hashem will provide. A month goes on and they are really suffering to the point of starvation. And she begs her husband, please go get a job, do something. No, the Rabbi Chaim Volozhiner said, just trust in Hashem. V'hu yichalka leka, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of you. And sure enough, one day there's a knock on the door. And a person comes in and says, is your wagon for rent? I'd like to rent your horse and wagon for the day. I'll give you 3 coins, 3 golden coins. Wow, 3 golden coins. He says to his wife, you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us. He told him, take the wagon, do what you need to do. You need to return it in 2 days' time. 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, the man does not come back. 3 days go by, the man, 4 days. She says, you foolish man, she says to her husband, you gave away your horse and your wagon for a couple of coins and now they're gone. We don't get them back. He said, don't worry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of us. And what was the background of the story? The man who came to borrow the wagon was a ganav, he was a thief. And he had gone and stolen a huge chest of gold and silver and precious pearls and jewels. And he put it onto the back of that caravan, to that carriage, and he was going into the wilderness to bury it in order that nobody would find what he had done. And as they're going along in the woods, the horse hits a rock on the road and the wagon takes a big jolt and the ganav, the thief, goes flying up, flies out of the carriage, ends up landing on his head, and he dies right over there in the middle of the woods. And now the horse is all by himself. And the horse doesn't know what to do, but the horse does know one thing. He knows from where he came. And he begins coming back to the house of his owner, his faithful owner who's filled with bitachon and trust in Hashem. And he pulls up into the front yard, and the man looks outside. He sees his horse return, and he looks, and he says, look, my dear wife, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu has taken care of us. And he opens up the treasure chest, and the sparkling shimmer of the gold and the silver and the precious gems is right there. And he says, you see, if you trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of you. Most of us are not on that madrega, on that level. Most of us need to be in the world of hishtadlus, of making efforts. But what the Beis Halevi is teaching us is that you do what you could do, and there's only so far that you can go. And when you get to a point where hishtadlus no longer is an option, where putting in the effort no longer is going to do anything or to work, quote unquote, or there is nothing else that could be done, you can be saimich, you can rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that at that point He takes over completely, as you'll be able to see with your own eyes, and provide you with the sustenance and the livelihood and the parnasa that you so much need. So we might not be tzaddikim, the righteous of this world who are worthy of those gifts coming from Hashem, l'maylim and ateva, above the laws of nature. But if we act wisely, we do our hishtadlus, and yet realizing the whole time it's all b'yidei Shemaim, it's all in the hands of Hashem, I will see clearly that I get to the point where it's time to say enough of the hishtadlus. I've done what I could do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You take over, the rest is up to you, and please provide me with my parnasa tova, with a good sustenance, the way that you promised that you will. Have a wonderful day.